Welcome to Roots and Ruminants, your podcast for creative and innovative use of farm, pasture, and rangeland. We're going back to the basics of raising and grazing livestock, growing your own forage, and practical land use.
All right, we're back. Another episode of Roots and Ruminants. We've got another great guest from Minnesota. So farmer David Larson from the Donnelly area is going to join us, and he's going to talk a lot about farming in that area and then his incorporation of cover crops. And actually, David's on because he is the king of the graze it, harvest it, rent it out submittals. He's leading the count for submittals.
I thought you guys called me to tell me that I won the whiskey drawing. I was so excited.
The whiskey drawing.
I will have 3 of the 4 submissions. So is this drawing happening by Christmas? I feel like I have good odds.
The odds are ever in your favor.
No, yeah. So Dave, we all go way back to college, right? And so a lot of later night conversations and daytime conversations and morning conversations over coffee about, in the future, what we're going to end up doing. Dave, you after college moved back to the home farm that you were actively involved in and farming even through college, and have kind of been there since, had some careers and stuff on top of it, but now you're full-time engaged in the operation, right?
Correct. My father passed away when I was a senior in high school, so our farm kind of had a major break, transition, I don't know what you call it. So I farmed a little bit through college, and then after graduation, I worked for 6 years for a feed company that managed hog barns. Fair to finish, we managed like 10,000 sows total, sold some feed to some big dairies in our area. And then in 2011, I retired from that to focus on farming full time. I farm about 1,000 acres, corn and soybeans. I have 40 beef cows, and then I also have a feedlot where I feed out like 300 head a year. Holsteins or colored cattle. I've done a lot of Holsteins. Right now I have filled it up with colored cattle. Holsteins are coming to buy. Farm with my wife, Anna, and then I have 4 children, 3 boys, Thorstein, Elroy, Arnie, and then we just had a baby girl, Margaret, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I don't know. It happened right during harvest, so yeah. September 27th, so yeah.
So she knows her dad, right? You think?
I don't know. I was holding her last night about 10:30. She kind of looked at me like, but
You stranger.
And your harvest is getting close to winding up, right?
Yeah, I'm in a truck right now. We're doing the last 40 acres of corn or so. Hoping that the rain holds off and the sun starts to shine so we can get some corn stalks baled through the weekend. So
great.
Yeah, what a challenge it's been, I guess, in that area and most of the area in eastern South Dakota as well. Central South Dakota is the same way. Boy, we had a pretty dry growing season, and the rains have not shut off since they turned on here in end of September. So it's made for kind of a greasy harvest in a lot of areas. But those areas I think are certainly welcoming the rains too. But yeah, corn stalk baling time is upon us. Are you putting them up mainly for bedding, or are you feeding them in your feedlot ration too, or feeding your stock cows with them?
Mainly bedding. Some will get fed for stock cows.
So tell us about you said you've done some cover cropping the last couple of years, and had some soybeans that were planted into cover crop this spring. Tell us about what that looked like, what you planted, how it ended up.
Yeah, I've done it the last 3-4 years. I've done some ration turnips after wheat when I spread and raised wheat. That works awesome. Just put your cows out there and then let them chew on it till it freezes up, and then I dig it in and plant corn to that. That works awesome. I've been experimenting with rye. I've done it a couple different ways. I took off some silage one year, and then I planted, I spun it on, vertical tilled it in. Last year, what I did, I took off earlage, and I spun some on, vertical tilled it in, and started to green up really, really good last fall. And the field was too far away, so I didn't harvest it at all, and then we were really dry this spring, so I just no-tilled right into it. Planting conditions were awesome. But then that field didn't get rain for about 5 weeks. So I had really uneven emergence and late emergence, and that field just looked tough all year. They ended up doing like 37 bushel, so that was kind of disappointing. That's the first time where I've ever done it where I've not had much success. The first year I did the exact same thing, and then I got 64 bushel soybeans. This year I did it in one other field, and I planted right into it, and those that this year were actually my best soybeans at 54 bushels. So back to the drawing board, and I'm going to try it on 2 more fields again this year. So that field, the biggest difference was in 10 days after I planted it, we got like 1.25 inches of rain. So I think that combined with the no-till, that field just had the most moisture all year. So, I'm not in the Red River Valley. I'm on the edge of it. I'm actually just leaving a farm of mine that I would say is on the edge of it. It's right by Herman here, but my soil is very black, heavy. I've spent a lot of money on tiling because usually too much moisture is an issue, not enough. But this year, I think some of my fields only got 5 to 6 inches of rain. So, yeah, yields on my soybeans were anywhere from that 36. I had a 40 of a beans on bean field that had some cyst nematode issues, and then my other fields were in the 51, 52-ish. Then corn yields. On corn field did 180, and then everything else has just been 195 to 200.
So you've got high yield potential. Why did you first start on the cover crop scene?
So the first year my home 2 quarters, I pattern tiled them really late one fall, and the ground froze up like 2 days after they got done, so I never got it worked. And this is heavy soil. So that spring, I bought a vertical tillage thing, and I just tilled it in the spring, and I had phenomenal crops. It was actually a really late, wet spring, and I was out there the earliest I've ever been on those fields with my neighbors and stuff, and I planted them. Conditions were good, crops looked good. I had great yields. So then I was like, well, yes, I have this ripper that's really nice, but why do I need to spend all this time and fuel ripping the ground when I just did this one year by fluke and had good success? So then that has had me play around with doing a little bit less tillage, and it's just a stigma in our area, though. Our soil's so black and so heavy, and for years it's just a lot more tiles getting put in now, but it hasn't been drained as good. Everybody, it's like, you have to get it black or it's not going to dry out or it's not going to yield. Well, then you start doing research on soybeans, and any university, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, says soybeans don't respond to tillage. They respond more like a planting date. It's like, well, if this tile has changed my planting date, why do I need to do tillage, right? That was my thought. So I'm not brave enough to just, get rid of everything and do it all. So I've been playing around with 1 or 2 fields every year on some of my better ground. And like I said, the first yield I did it on an 80, where I took off earlage, spun on the rye, vertical tilled it in, and I planted right into it. And I'm out there like, my dad is looking down upon me like, what is he doing? Like, what is my son doing? He is going to go broke, And my neighbors saw me doing it, and they went into my uncle, who works at the co-op, and they're like, what is David doing? Those beans are never going to grow. And it's like, yeah, well, I've done dumber things before, and those did 64 bushel, which for our area is really good soybeans. So it's like, well, try it again. And the one year I took the rye off, I harvested it and then planted it into there. Those beans did 53, and they were like my second best field. So it's like, I had a 37 in there this year, which was my worst. But that was an inch of rain after planting, they would have been 45 to 50 bushel soybeans. So,
yeah, similar thing. I mean, that really uncommon 5 to 6 week dry stretch that happened right after planting, as you've had a growing cover crop out there this year, caught some folks that don't normally, have that kind of response. But that's why it's all an average, right?
right.
Yeah, I want you to go ahead and give your graze it, harvest it, rent it out scenario, because this one's a classic, and I think it fits into the fall theme. It's harvest season for corn and soybeans, but also for vegetables.
So I have harvest, graze it, or rented out a 20-acre pumpkin patch, a 30-acre corn maze, or a 60-acre apple orchard.
Man, the 60 acres of apples is really intriguing because it's so much bigger than the pumpkins or the corn.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would want 60 acres of pumpkins.
Right.
So I think I know which way I want to go here. Um, the one thing that I want to graze is the pumpkins. Like I think there's some grazing value there, and it might require me to like run over some areas with a tractor or smash some pumpkins to get them open to allow my cows to graze them. But I think that's what I'm going to graze. People talk about pumpkins for deer food plots. They say they just love them. And we've thrown out the pumpkins, the jack-o'-lanterns out to the lots before, and the cows will eat them, the sheep will eat them. So they'll eat them. So I'm going to graze the pumpkins, the corn. I'm going to go ahead and harvest it, and I'm going to rent out the apple orchard. The corn, I think that one it seems like that one's probably the easiest one to harvest. Find some value. I'm either gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna combine that one as harvesting it. And the apple orchard, I have no clue how to get that one harvested or grazed, so I'm gonna rent that one out and let somebody else take care of it. But I might not have any value from that one, so maybe I'm missing that one if I just rent it out.
At risk of being redundant, I actually would go the same strategy. Starting with the apple orchard, I would say one, I don't know how much value to get from renting it. Usually I take rented and take the highest value thing and rent it and try and do the lowest value ones on these. In this situation though, I'm going to rent out because we're having nice fall weather right now. I'm going to be renting out the apple orchard as a wedding venue for fall
Ooh.
weddings for this year, right? And I think you can make enough money in like 2 to 3 weekends of that as the weather holds. You can probably buy a lot of hay with that if you need to. Okay? So I'm going to rent it out as a wedding venue. I'm going to graze the pumpkin patch, but here's what I'm thinking. I think we're going to Menno Sale Barn, Menno Stock Market. I'm going to get some bred sows that can go on dirt. And I'm going to take the giant pumpkins, like those ones you mentioned, chainsaw, biodegradable A-huts for farrowing on the giant pumpkins, and then graze the rest.
They make biodegradable A-frame huts.
Giant pumpkins. Like, it's about the right size, right?
True.
You know, the largest of the giant pumpkins. You probably can get a gilt in there to farrow out, maybe.
Very natural.
I'm just saying.
Natural
That's
housing.
And then I think I'm gonna chop. I'm gonna take that corn maze and chop through it. I do think it'd be really important to check thoroughly for people in the maze before you chop the maze. Like I think you're gonna want to give plenty of notice that the corn maze is closed for the year. The doors are shut. All the cars are gone before you start harvesting the corn maze. This is,
You guys have some really good ideas here. The first thing I should say is, Jared, how many pumpkin spice lattes can you get out of a giant pumpkin? You know the equation, or not quite yet?
oh man, I would assume like several hundred.
Okay.
Like you probably get several hundred
Yeah.
lattes, pumpkin spice. I mean, because you don't put that much pumpkin spice in there.
Just a pinch. A pinch per latte.
So I am going to lease out the corn maze. I'm going to do it on a percentage of total revenue, so that way I can capitalize on all the people that have paid to go through the corn maze. I'm hoping that the person, it was planted to a high standing sweet corn, so they harvested all the cobs of corn, then the stock is still standing strong, and then the maize. I mean, if there's anything that the seed industry is missing is a high plant height stock strength sweet corn. I mean, you have all these corn mazes. I mean, they're designed to be picked for sweet corn to be sold at a stand for $6 a dozen. You have the trails through them and everything. So I'm going to capitalize on that revenue between the sweet corn and the revenue from the mazes. And then I'm envisioning this down in Hastings, Dakota County. So then the final part of that lease is that someone will find a club calf guy and have their 10 club calf cows out there to graze down the corn stalks. So it feels like that's the best way to utilize that piece of corn.
Or you can have individual runs, like one hot wire run per
Right.
cow with an automatic heated water.
Yep.
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 Okay, makes sense.
So when you have all, so then we'll go with the apple orchard. I'm gonna harvest that and try to find every outlet for farm stand apples. You know, get my wife busy canning some applesauce and apple butter and selling pies. And I
Mm.
don't know, if find an outlet to like a colony or something like that. Be their source for homemade
Who are
pies.
you gonna
That's
get to? Who are you gonna get to help you harvest the 60 acres of apples this time of year? If you can't get Hannah to run the grain cart, how are you gonna get this?
that minor details, right?
Okay, right, that's true. It's all conceptual. Yeah,
It's all. I mean, we never said labor sources here,
that's
so.
true.
I'm gonna harvest the apples, and then I'm gonna graze the pumpkins with goats because I feel like there's a lot of opportunities there. Some of them you put the goats out there. It's next to I'm assuming the maize, so you have all these people there where they're gonna want to go in there and pay to have pictures taken with these goats standing on giant pumpkins, right? So, and then in the morning, it's probably going to be pretty low key. So you can have maybe have some goat yoga sessions in this pumpkin patch in the morning.
Yep.
And then, yes. So then also, these
little paper cups of corn, to the kids to feed the goats and sell your corn for like $200 a bushel, little paper cups at a time with the little quarter machines. Remember those?
And then, so they, like Justin said, these pumpkins are going to have to be broken down because if you ever give like a goat a pumpkin, they love them, but it's hard work for them to break it up. So have you guys ever heard of like a rage room?
Rage room.
Yes.
Okay.
It's where people pay to go into a room and break stuff. Like you pay so much an hour, so much a time, and it's full of like old TV and give people baseball bats, and they just break stuff. So you could use that. You could pay people to break up your pumpkins, so you don't even have to for your goats.
People would pay you.
Yeah, people would pay you to break your pumpkins.
To smash your pumpkins.
For you.
Pumpkin. Okay.
A rage. So you're kind of renting that out.
No,
Yeah, it's kind
I'm
of
grazing it with just value.
Oh, okay. You got these tied in very well. If you had an 80 and you could do an apple orchard, a corn maze, and a pumpkin patch, and you lived south of the Twin Cities,
Yeah.
I think we just made a business plan.
And then the other 40 is just your regular garden, so you always have foot traffic, right? If that isn't a solid business plan, I don't know what is.
I think the customer base that wants to rent out the rage room and the customer base that wants to do the you pick it corn maze and feed the goats, like I think they're different kinds of people. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. No. This is the
But like you're capturing on, like you have rage room sessions at nighttime because everybody that wants to have their kids taking pictures of goats standing on top of pumpkins is home by 4:00 for bedtime, and so it's like all aspects of the market. And then in the morning you have the yoga people. So there's three
That's true.
demographics. There's three demographics that you're hitting there.
I actually think this is super appealing for the dad. You bring your family of kids to the pumpkin patch, corn maze, apple orchard. By the end of it, you want to go smash some pumpkins, man. Like, let's range this thing out. I've never done this fall harvesting thing, but you see pictures of it's like the beautiful family scene during fall, like drinking these apple ciders and right. It's just a really busy time, but not for people that don't have a farm or livestock. It's a great time to go to the apple orchard and pick some apples and get some pumpkins.
Right.
I could just imagine that would be a little stressful, I would say, after that, and the dads would want to go smash some pumpkins.
Yeah,
and pay you to do it, David.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was the last one I have, guys. I don't have any more mazes and grazes it right now. So.
Well, that keeps you in the drawing.
Okay, so I have 3 submissions.
You have 3 submissions for the whiskey. Right. Thanks for hopping on. Appreciate the time, David.
Yep. See ya. Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
All right. So if you want to submit another Roots and Ruminants, graze it, harvest it, rent it out, please email it to rootsandruminants@gmail.com. So it's the AND though. So roots, AND, ruminants@gmail.com. So send them in, Or we can just get you on, and we'll have you as a guest too. So perfectly fine. So,
Yep.
alrighty. Thanks again,